In the Pits is partnered with Paintball Kumite. Paintball Kumite is a program designed by Colt Roberts of professional team San Antonio X Factor to take paintball players of all ages, experience levels, and skill groups and mold them into champions. The program breaks the game down into small, easy-to-learn sessions designed to help you master the fundamentals so that you can elevate your game. Newcomers to the program get a free 1-hour introductory class when mentioning In the Pits. To sign up for a class, message at Paintball Kumite on Instagram. In the Pits is partnered with Get Dat Shot. Get Dat Shot now offers first-in-line photo and video editing, 20% off Get Dat Shot merch, and 20% off prints to all teams that wear the Get Dat Shot logo on their jersey. Message GetDat_shot on Facebook or Instagram to become a Get Dat Shot program team. In the Pits is partnered with Compete. Compete is a Texas-based brand by Jell Stewart of professional team AC Diesel that provides custom jerseys, pants, headbands, straps, tech shirts, and any other soft goods to help individuals and teams compete at the highest level. Support Texas Paintball and message Compete on Facebook or Instagram and mention In the Pits Podcast for 10% off your entire order. Welcome, everyone, to In the Pits, episode 10. This podcast is focused on everything that has to do with the paintball scene in Texas, from professional players and teams to new divisional programs, local tournament series, field owners, Texas-based brands, even photographers and videographers. Every week, we will have a short and sweet, about 30-minute episode with a new topic and special guest. I'm Christian Smith. I'm a player for the Texas Titans. In this episode, we are going in the pits with Alex Smith, aka British player for Austin Notorious. British, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. This is a special episode. We're already 10 in now. Can't believe that we're already here already. So for those listening, maybe they don't know all that much about you. How long have you been involved in the Texas paintball scene?
Well, I moved to Texas right after the 9/11 attacks. And I've been playing rec ball, paintball in Texas ever since. So middle school, I started at Texas Paintball here in Austin on 620, um, tearing up the rec ball fields, having fun. Started playing my first three-man events there. Um, so really, ever since I would say 2002, yeah, um, that's where it all started.
Right here in Austin, you've pretty much been here the whole time. So what competitive teams have you played for over the years?
Um, well, we made several different three-man teams over the years. I played with Fearless Factory. That was Mario's store out in kind of Pflugerville, close to Outlaw Paintball. And we started playing three-man tournaments at Texas Paintball, Outlaw, um, and then it kind of led into playing with Mythic. Mythic was my main first real team that I played with, which was a seven-man team. And that actually, we went out to Petty Paintball. I don't know if everybody remembers Petty Paintball out in the sticks, but um, we started playing some big practices out in Petty Paintball, and then a lot of different three-man tournaments over the years. So Fearless Factory, Mythic, um, yeah, that was kind of the old school teams. Of course, my recent ones, the ATX Kings, and of course FSU.
Yeah, so was that the team that you were on in this clip that we just showed?
That's the one. And you'll notice I'm the only one with the yellow pants. That was the infamous pants, and yeah, They started out as a blue team, and I just kind of joined the year after. It was a great team. I had a lot of fun. Those guys were ballers, and that's where I really learned how to play paintball, and actually did proper drills um, on like 10-man fields, 7-man fields. Yeah, had a lot of fun. So yeah, that's where it all started.
Cool stuff. And tell everybody listening and watching kind of what the significance of that clip was.
Well, I love that clip because my dad was filming it too, and everyone calls me British, and I'll just kind of explain where that came from. It's my dad. Obviously, I sound very American. I was born in England, born in Reading, England, raised here in Texas. And my dad had a very, very strong British accent. He was always the guy going around filming our events. I couldn't even drive at the time, right? So I was 14 in that clip. So he went with me and he filmed that clip, and that was my very first point of my first major, first match, first point. Um, and went out there, got a 3-pack. I would argue maybe it was a 4. I might have shot that guy in the back right too. I definitely gave him one as he was walking off. Um, but that was a great moment. I even came up and grabbed the flag, and I was the one to hang the flag on the first point. So I knew like this was just the beginning.
Yeah, what a great moment. Just very first point, straight up certified killer from day one, and now you're doing it on the semi-pro field.
Sure.
You only joined up with Austin Notorious, your current team, in the last 2 years. So what prompted the change in team, and why did you choose to go with Notorious?
Well, we were always playing against each other. So I was with the ATX Kings. So I moved away for college. I didn't actually play paintball for 5 years. Right after high school, I just kind of some of my old fellows that I run into nowadays. They said I vanished, and I did right after high school. I just bounced. I left, didn't play for 5 years, came back. And English Mast from the ATX Kings came out to me and said, "Hey, come play." It kind of reminds me of Mark Franz nowadays because he's such an ambassador for the sport. Doesn't matter who you are. English hadn't seen me play before at all. He didn't even know who I was and said, "Come out and play." So I started playing with them, and it turned into a little rivalry locally, just on the practice field. So we started playing against each other, and we had a few guys that could ball. They had several guys that could ball on FSU, and um, you know what? Marky and I never even really talked to each other before I joined the team. It was Paul, Black Bart, Hubert, that was kind of talking to me about trying to join the team and combine forces. Um, and then yeah, we just had a rival. We were always just shooting the crap out of each other, honestly. Like Marky and I would go at it, and like all the rest of the FSU guys, we all knew who the killers were, and we were kind of keying up on each other. Um, and then some of the Kings fell apart. We had some great years with the Kings, some great tournaments. We played really aggressive, Texas style paintball. We were real aggressive, get up the field. We're not going to sit back and hold lanes. Um, yeah, we did that too a little bit, but we're going to get up the field and play aggressive paintball. And I like the style of FSU. Um, and the Kings just kind of fell apart for multiple reasons, but that made it a lot easier. And they were the team locally. They practiced in my home field. So, yeah, just talked to the coach and made it happen.
Well, I can tell that it's a great fit because y'all have been absolutely dominant the last 2 years. Um, last year you were the NXL D2 series champions, and I kind of going back a little bit to that rivalry between the ATX Kings and Austin Notorious back. I think back then they were still San Antonio Notorious.
Yes.
I think the probably the height of the rivalry. I remember there was an event in I think 2017 or 2018 CTPL, the series up at Outlaw, where there was only 4 teams entered. It was 2 ATX Kings lines and 2 Austin Notorious lines, and that was it. So
Yeah.
all through prelims, all you were doing was just butting heads against each other the whole time. And
We were.
Tom, shout out to Tom and Deborah over at Outlaw. They, even though there was only 4 teams registered, they still put up the full cash prize, and they decided to make it a winner take all for first place. And I think that kind of also fueled that rivalry. And I think y'all ended up taking it in overtime as well. So I
Yeah.
was there reffing that event, and that was definitely a heated one.
Yeah. And it reminds me of the good old days too. I mean, that was definitely a great time, just competing against each other, and we just had that mutual respect. A lot of the guys on the Kings were really good at talking crap, and the FSU guys were too. And I'm not like that. I'm very kind of the I'll show you on the field kind of guy. But it got heated, and you just calm people down and go back at it. And it reminds me of the good old days when just going back to like petty paintball and playing back at the 7-man fields. I mean, those guys would just get, I don't know, it's Texas, it's hot, tempers flare, seen plenty of fights, but it's just competitiveness is what it is, and the love for the game, and just great competition. It was lots of fun.
Yep, definitely competitive. The ATX Kings line definitely heated at times. But yeah, it was great to watch. It's great to be able to watch that with the front row seats that I had. So you have played in a ton of different tournament series. You've played a couple of seasons of PSP. You've played USXBL, NXL, the XCPL events up at Fit. You've played the Star Series. You've played the Houston HTPS, and you played CTPL up at Outlaw, and then also you got to do Bunker Fest last year in Austin. So which series would you say was your favorite to play, and why?
Oh, man, that's tough. That's really tough. I mean, I've got memories for different reasons. I forgot about the Bunker Fest even last year. That was great, just because I had an amazing jump shot in the finals of Bunker Fest against a team from out of state. That was great, and also that was one of the last tournaments that I played with Diego, which unfortunately got in a tragic car wreck, and um, um, but it yeah, that was a special moment too. My favorite, it's got to be the NXL. I mean, it's all the great teams are there. The competition is just that much more elevated at the NXL. Um, and I could even pinpoint probably Chicago last year, 2021, us taking home first place and winning the finals. And the promotional pick for this podcast actually is the icing on the cake from that moment, the 3-pack to win the whole tournament. Um, but it's probably my favorite. So if I had to pick one, I mean, even NPPL was great too. Obviously, 7-man, all the different bunker layouts and stuff, but just the intensity and the competition of the NXL, I would say, has got to be the best.
Yep. It's just something else about being on that big stage.
Yeah,
And you
about
know
it.
that everybody there is no one's dropping $3,000 just to have fun and hope for the best. No, they're out. You've got a whole lot of teams out there for blood, out there to win the whole thing. uh yeah, nothing like it for sure.
No
um
doubt.
so after your departure from the ATX Kings, you made the notorious D2 team at the time. Y'all dominated, you won the series. Tell me about the work that you put in and the steps that you took to get yourself to that point.
Um, Man, we just grinded out points. We slowly got organized, and I think like the practices, it took a minute to get organized because we had new faces and it just shows the amount of talent that we had on that team. Sometimes you might have gaps here and there, or you might have, certain things that we're still catching up. But we combined forces, and we had just such a strong team. Like everyone there has years of experience. Like you might have guys that are really talented, but mentally, years of experience in decision making. That's hard to find. It really is. Like for having, you know, just the different kinds of experiences. So, um, work wise, getting organized, like learning the calls and getting it down, and identifying zones and holding zones. And that is the difference. You get put in, you get shot. What are you going to do next? That is the difference between some of the lower divisional stuff and what we're doing right now too. It's who's going to take over that zone, or and so just putting in the work of just playing better teams than you and working hard. Yeah, hard
For
work.
sure.
That's what it
For
comes down
sure.
to.
Y'all have been putting in the work. Y'all have been working hard, and y'all definitely been playing better teams. Like even when Notorious first made the jump to D2 at the start of last year, they went to the Virginia Invitational, competing against teams in the pro bracket like NYX, um, like NRG, like Columbus Level, and if I remember correctly, they almost won that invitational event as well. Were you part of that?
I missed that one. It killed me not to be there, obviously, because they did so well. But was really proud of the guys. They went out there and they had respect for the guys, but that's not going to hold them back. We're still going to play, get in your face, kind of Texas paintball, and that's what we're about. That's what we're going out there for. We're hungry, and those guys showed it to them, and they thought they were going to take us lightly, and they went out there and just balled out. So um, I remember B White rolled his ankle on that one, and but still played really well before that, and everyone else just had a game. So yeah, I wasn't part of it, but they did well.
Yep, they definitely put everybody on notice even before the season started. So, for you, having very recently made the jump from lower divisions up to playing semi pro this year, what are some differences that you've noticed between playing Division 4, playing in Division 2, and now playing in semi pro?
Division 4, yeah. Actually, it kind of goes on to what we were talking, or what I was saying before with holding zones and things. There's a plan A, but what's the plan B and what's the plan C? Um, a lot of the times, like for example, on the Dorito side, there'll be one shooter just holding down the whole Dorito side, and okay, I put him in. Now what? So it's they don't have the D4 guys won't have um, zone control, and there'll be just wide open lanes for you to run down and just start shooting people in the back. Um, Division 2, semi-pro, you can't just run down the field like that. You have to get your timing right, and especially at the beginning of the game, you can't just run down the field. The gun skills are higher with everyone. You're not going to have one guy that you're picking on as much. Um, And one of the main things is they will in semi-pro they punish you for not being on something. Like if you're not on the snake, they're going to be in the snake, but all the way in your side of the snake, or on the Dorito side, they're going to be on your side of the field, like that. So um, you have to be mentally prepared, and you have to be on the same page. Like, yeah, everyone's got good gun skills, but are you on the same page? Are you looking at the right zones? Are you doing the right thing, and are you mentally prepared for what's happening? D4, like I feel like I said, I can just you shoot one guy that's watching that zone, and it might take 30 seconds for the team to realize what's going on, and I'm already down there shooting two or three people in the back. Um, I love playing D4. Honestly, it was great. I mean, I played D4 for probably way too long, um, but I was having too much fun. I mean, the Kings we were successful, and um, D4 in Texas is different than D4 around the rest of the country. It is competitive here, and we had rivals, and even in D4. Um, but the semi-pro, especially on the national level, you got to be ready. You got to be ready to switch it up and play defense and cross it up and talk to each other and um, just be on the same page.
Uh, Here in Texas, a lot of people, I mean, we all know D4 in Texas is incredibly competitive. There's some names in D4 in Texas that are former semi-pro players. Um, and even, you saw guys like, um, I can't even remember his name on Greed. Um, he former semi-pro player. You've got players all the time ranking up to D3, and then after a year or two they get ranked back down to D4 so that they can play again. D4 is definitely a meat grinder here in Texas, and a lot of us know just how tough it is to compete there. So would you say that playing D4 in Texas is similar to playing in a higher division nationally?
Definitely, definitely. It goes, D4 is there's a high volume of teams too. So some like maybe some of the ones at the very bottom, D4, but some of those guys at the top of D4, they can beat some of the D2 teams in the national tournaments without a doubt. And just speaking of greed, yeah, of course they can. Yeah, they're a great team, and they're a lot to break down, and they're great at gun skills, holding their lanes, and um, D4. It's just competitive in general in Texas, and that's what I hope for in the future. Is just players and teams keep playing. Let's just keep it going.
Yeah, for sure. I just remembered his name. His name is Britton Blake, who used to be playing semi-pro on.
Okay.
Yeah, so Texas definitely deep. I mean, you're seeing teams all the time, like coming out of USXBL. Maybe they're not consistently winning, but they're usually like at the top, and then they go play an NXL event, and they just absolutely dominate. I mean, look at Tribe this year. Look at the Texas Cyclones last year. Even teams like Coalition, who are usually made up of like different parts of fit teams, they'll go in and just absolutely destroy people at the NXL. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, D4 here, especially in USXBL, it's a tough one. But it's great to hear that it's helped kind of prepare you for those higher divisions playing nationally.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, if you can all out and compete with these guys here, it's worth spending the extra money and then going out and competing with everyone else too. It's great that we have this at our back door right here in Texas too. Um, Very thankful for having such good ballers around here. It's just a lot of fun. I mean, it's just competitive. I mean, even D3, D2, D4. I mean, there's just good paintball players that have got experience all around. So, yeah, it's been good.
Yep, especially this year. I mean, there's all sorts of teams that you have to respect in Texas. Like even teams that hadn't historically been doing well, like the Dragoons, for example. They've been putting in a lot of work. This past USXBL, they made the finals. They knocked out really solid teams like they beat us, the Titans, in prelims. They knocked out Avarice. They came back actually being down 3-0 against Avarice and come back to beat them 4-3.
They
Um,
okay.
yeah,
That's not
so
surprising. We've seen them out at Outlaw a few times too, and they're hungry. And if we're not on our game, they'll get close to beating us sometimes too. And yeah, they're all these guys. They're just hungry. They want to play.
for sure. Yeah, definitely a lot of teams in Texas that you have to respect. So with you guys playing the NXL Semi Pro Series, you're currently very much in the running, although it's very close between you guys, between Blast Camp, Fit.com, and even surprisingly, Annapolis A Team, if they play Chicago and Cup, even though they didn't do so well at one of the events. And then I think they skipped another one. I think they skipped California. But if you, I guess, doing the math, if you consider like those two events, that the events that they get to drop this year,
Mhm.
they're technically currently in third place. So if, again, depending on how they do in Chicago and at Cup, so how much of a grind is it at the top of the semi-pro bracket for those teams that, like, knowing that only the first place team gets to go on to the pro division?
It's a grind for sure. You know what? I wouldn't say I'm surprised, but yeah, maybe I'm a little bit surprised. Like we're close. We're right in the grasp of taking some of that, and um, it's turning into a real battle. I mean, I feel like we're in a great position for the end of the year. We've got two really big tournaments coming up. Um, we're third, ish, and the pressure's on the other teams. I mean, Blast Camp, they've been in semi-pro before. Paintball Fit, they played pro. They're hungry to get back up to pro again. This is our first year in semi-pro, and we came out um, just showing everybody what we can do, what we're capable of. And we're only just getting started too. We're only just starting getting organized. Like a lot of the guys on the team are pretty young, um, and we're coming out. We're coming hungry. Blast Camp. I mean, we've beaten them every time we've played them. I think, if I'm not mistaken. And Paintball Fit, they've got a lot of experience. They know us really well, and yeah, they beat us pretty good a few times, and we got close to beating them in prelims. So it's close. I mean, it's close. It's anyone's game. I mean, these two big tournaments coming up, the points could change up quite a bit.
Oh yeah, and I made a post a couple of weeks back on the Paintball Talk by Cell page on Facebook, with kind of, if you consider the everybody's two lowest events as the events being dropped, the current standings would have Blast Camp in first place with 200 points because they won two events, and then right behind them would be Fit.com at 196 points. In
Okay.
third place, technically, would be Annapolis 18 with 189 points, and then it would be y'all at 186 points. So just to show you, there's the top four teams are within 14 points of each other. That's the difference between, like, if you don't make top four at an event, you're losing your lead.
Yeah, it's right there for the taking, and yeah, like pretty much you can just put all that behind you. Like this is it. Like in a few weeks' time, Chicago, this is it. World Cup, obviously, there's more points on the line at World Cup too, um, and we've set ourselves up. I mean, we're ready to come out there and show everybody what we can do.
Yep, and we're gonna be rooting for you along the way. Hometown heroes here in Austin, really showing that, Austin paintball, there's a lot of talent here. I know historically, like, it's been all about X Factor versus Fit, and then every now and then, some Houston teams would come up and surprise people. But for a while in Austin, it was really just the Kings, and also a little bit of Austin Evolution as well. They're doing really well in the Houston series in D5, but up until Notorious made their move from San Antonio to Austin, you didn't really see a whole lot of really, besides the Kings, there wasn't really anyone else coming out of there.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've always said we wanted a semi-pro team coming out of outlaw paintball too, and that'd be amazing if we can get a pro team going out of outlaw, and we're working on it, obviously. And there's some lower divisional teams that are really going for it too. Um, Up at outlaw paintball, and they're doing great. Um, so yeah, it's just great to see the sport growing, really.
Yep. I
Like
think
Hypnotic, I should go ahead and just say like a Hypnotic too out of Outlaw. You know, they're growing. They've got a lot of ballers that they've been picking up, and yeah, they've been doing better. Um, and a few other teams around there too. Yeah.
yeah. Shout out to Hypnotic. I think 2 episodes ago I had Enzo on.
Yes.
Yeah, he had a great episode, and it's really cool to see their growth. They're this year they made the jump to D3 with Enjoy Paintball and Nico Hyde, and
Yes.
they're I think next year is going to be a really good year for a lot of teams in Texas. I just with all of the growth that I'm seeing, I wouldn't be surprised if within the next probably 3 to 5 years we're going to see an entirely Texan D2 uh turn like series where you could fill an entire event with just D2 teams out of Texas.
Oh yeah. Without a doubt. Yeah. I don't doubt it.
Yep. So granted you've only been on Notorious the last 2 years and you weren't involved in their long time struggle. They were playing D3 for many years, both locally and nationally. But does Notorious have a team they consider their rival?
Um, you know what? It was like just playing Greed, like and the locally for USXBL Greed. Where I mean, they were the real rival, and they knew it too. Like we would win, they would win, we would win, they would win. We ended up taking the whole series that we played, but that was definitely the rival. Now, like this is going into semi-pro, we're building some rivals. I feel like we don't have any official rivals right now. Um, but Blast Camp, I mean, I know they're wanting to beat us pretty bad because we came up and beaten them a few times, and Fit, they've kind of yeah, we have great practices with them, and in the tournaments we would have liked to have beaten them a few times, but they've gotten the better of us recently. Um, so I wouldn't say it's a rival yet because we've beaten Blast Camp a bunch, Fit's beaten us a bunch, but we're looking to shake that up.
Yep. I remember for the longest time when both Fit and Notorious were playing D3, it always seemed to be a huge rivalry between Notorious and Fit I think usually got the better most of the time.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised that you say that it's not quite a rivalry even after the first event this year where it was y'all two in the finals.
It was. I mean, yeah. I mean, I say that just because it's fresh. It's a fresh thing because they. Yeah. I mean, I guess it is a rivalry. I don't know what counts as exactly as a rivalry, but um, yeah, we. Some of the matches are really close. You know, we just haven't quite. I feel like they've always had like a little bit of an edge on us strategically, maybe, or they've kind of got the upper hand. But if they're breaking out to the same 5 bunkers and we're not figuring out how to beat them, there's something going on. We're trying to figure it out. But yeah, and especially in practice when we're grinding. I mean, we're playing them, and it's definitely a rivalry. In practice, we try different things, beat each other here and there. We just want to make it. We want to show everybody on the main stage. I mean, that's what we want to do. When we got to the finals in Orlando earlier this year. The team was just drained, honestly. Like we fought so hard to beat a lot of those teams. Everybody didn't think we were going to make the finals, our first semi-pro event, and we got there, and we just looked a little sluggish, like kind of off of our game. So I would like to, and then in the prelims we played them, and then I think Stu came down and like and hit the buzzer with like 5 seconds left on the clock, and it was tied 2-2. So it's very, very close. It's just recognizing who their dynamic players are and trying to pick on them a little bit more. I think like that helped. And then playing with some maturity, and not getting shot at your bunkers. Like, yeah, if you get put in, like whatever, let's work as a team.
Yeah, I'm curious. Kind of on your team, you've got a lot of superstar power. Talking about like who's playing well at certain points of the time, but you've got a lot of superstar power in your corner. So first, let's start with your coach Ryan Gray. So he's a famous player for Storm and the Naughty Dogs. He coached legendary names such as X Factor. He coached Texas Storm. He coached the old Texas Phalanx team a couple of years back. He coached Plum Life before coming to you guys. So, what has playing under Ryan Gray's coaching been like for you in your development?
Oh, it's huge. Honestly, Ryan is probably my first like real coach, like professional coach. And I've had some people give me advice before, but a lot of this stuff I've just figured out on my own. Like this is the first time that I've got into some real in-depth, like professional type of analysis. And we've got Tyler Spees with us too, and he's a great coach too. And so just picking both their brains and Ryan Gray, he'll hold you accountable, and he will get you thinking a lot. And he's a great coach. There's so much that I'm learning from him. It's almost like I've been playing paintball, for so long, and now all of a sudden learning all this like advanced stuff, like it's taking a second to soak in. And he will even say, like at the tournaments, he's, like, I forget that you guys are not pro. And he talks to us like we're pro. And it's like, okay. Sometimes he just, we'll get a little tense because we're overthinking things. And he'll say, hey, just go out and play paintball. In the finals of even Orlando, like he's just go play paintball. And I feel like that helps. But yeah, we're fine tuning things. We've been learning how to work together. This is the first year working with Ryan, and it's been a real pleasure. He's a great dude. I love Ryan. He's a great dude. He really is, and we're building some real chemistry. And if we could have Ryan out at Outlaw during our normal practices all year, I think we would take first place. I'm serious about that too. Like sometimes we build bad habits just messing around too much or taking our foot off the gas, but he will really get us. He'll just fine tune everything and really get us on the game that we should be playing. Yeah.
Well, shout out to Ryan Gray. I can tell. I mean, he's definitely getting the most out of you guys. Every event y'all are playing just top tier paintball, and it's great to see so many of you guys like yourself, like Paul Hubert, like Ivan, like Renee. Like I'm seeing all of these guys that I've been playing with for a couple of years now, and just really seeing your full potential unleashed. Sure. Another legendary name that you have in your corner is Michael Kovar playing alongside you. So tell me more about what Kovar brings to the team.
Oh man, Michael Kovar. Such a big name too. When I found out he was going to come join us, I was so excited. I really was. It even goes back like X Factor. That's just the team that's who I looked up to. That's how I grew up being, I was a little kid playing against those guys. I was always looking up to those guys. And I always think about this one-on-one tournament back at the Realm, back when they, out of San Marcos. We had, I'm just doing a little flashback here, but it was a one-on-one tournament, and I got second place. And the only guy that beat me that day, Michael Kovar. And he just beat it, everybody, dominated. I dominated my side, and then I think he beat me 2 out of 3 in the finals. And then when he joined the team, we started out, we were just playing some one-on-ones, messing around. And I ended up beating him two out of the 3 times on the one-on-one just at Outlaw. It was a casual practice, but I shot him twice. And in my head, I was celebrating a lot. I wasn't boasting about it, but like I felt great. Like it was a whole thing that just came around from that time, like literally probably 8 years ago when he beat me back in the day. But just so much respect for that guy. He's a great player. It's a different level of thinking. Like I've been a D3 player, for a long time. He's been a pro player for years and years and years. So he brings to the team another intensity, but honestly, a lot of it is mental. I mean, it's nice to know when he's still on the field, stuff can happen. We got this. I come around and just take a glance. Michael's still on the field. We're good. And he'll hold me accountable. Like he brings that kind of teamwork and that communication together, and he'll question things. Like I'll run down and do well. Like we'll win the point, but like he'll come up and question why I did this, why I did that, and he held me accountable too. And he is great about bringing the team together and getting organized. And um, his gun skills are on another level. He's got some superior snap shooting and field awareness. He's got it all really. So I learn from him every time I play with him. And if it wasn't for him, he's the one that's elevating our game right now for sure. He's better than everybody on the team, and I strive to play on his level too. And it gets me motivated. And he opens up new doors. Like we just practiced X Factor a few weeks back, just a random weekend practice with them because of his connections with X Factor. And it's just been a real pleasure, honestly.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the. Hold on. Okay, here we go. So yeah, having Michael on your line, that's just such a huge name, and having that level of experience is just awesome. Real quick for anybody in the chat, we're getting close to the end of our show, so if you have something that you'd like to ask British, please get it in the chat now, and we'll get to it at the end. So speaking of very well-known names in your corner, of course, we got to talk about Mark and Marky France. This father-son duo, they've been a name in Texas for many, many years now. Since Marky was just, even before Marky was a teenager, he was out there playing events with his dad. And I'm sure there's also a lot of players currently playing in Texas that have played for Notorious at one point for an event or two. They've been grinding for such a long time to get to this point. Mark has been doing just about everything in his power to help his son eventually reach pro. And now that the pro spot, it's within grasp. Y'all are 14 points behind first place. So tell me what it's like to be working with both Mark France and Marky, and their drive and their dedication to this goal.
Oh man, it's a roller coaster. Those guys are hilarious. They just make me laugh every weekend we go play with them. They're really fun. They're Mark Franz. I mean, he's a great just ambassador for the sport. That's why he might talk a lot of crap. He might be an extrovert. He's rowdy. You either love him or you hate him. And I'm very thankful that I've joined forces with him. He's one of those guys. If he'll find somebody just random, like first time showing up for paintball, you got a new paintball gun. Hey, come play. Come jump in with us. Let's go play. Great ambassador for the sport. Mark Francis is a great dad too. I mean, he's so supportive of Marky, and he sees his potential too. And he's doing everything he can, to get to, as far as like sponsoring the team, just being there with the team, and just taking it to the next level. And then Marky's obviously a great teammate too. He's very talented. He's got a lot of experience. He's probably played more paintball tournaments and, well, not Michael, but pretty much everyone else on the team. And he's just played that many tournaments. He's just always been there. I took a lot of time off for college and stuff too. And so he's just always been around. I haven't known him, personally. I knew of him, but I haven't known him I've known him for just the last few years. But it's a blast. I love playing with these guys, and this is probably like the most fun that I've had playing paintball, just on and off the field.
Yep, and definitely helps when you're got the level of success that y'all are having this year. But talking about Marky just a little bit more, for those that don't know so much about Marky, he has been at a really high level, been playing for so long, for so many years. Right before the COVID shutdown happened, he had gotten picked up by a Grit semi-pro team, playing alongside names such as Anthony Bowles. And so, got to play his first semi-pro event, and then the lockdown happened. NXL season got stopped and then resumed for World Cup that year. And for World Cup, him and Anthony both got picked up by the then pro team Trade My Gun Outlaws. Now they're playing in semi-pro under the name Chicago Distortion. But both him and Anthony, they, even though, especially for Marky's case, he'd only been playing D3 for such a long time, played one semi-pro event, and then got picked up by a pro team. Him and Anthony were starters on that team after getting picked up for a pro. So the kid's really talented, and not just talented, but he's been working hard for such a long time.
Absolutely. And it shows that it's some, like, yeah, he's worked hard for it, but it's also natural talent too. These guys have. So, I mean, Marky could be playing pro right now if he wanted to. I'm sure some teams would want to pick him up. He chose to, work with his buddies and the local guys and work his way up and do it his way and do it the Mark Franz way. And I have a lot of respect for that. Not just jumping the gun, but, working hard and just trying to take him to the next level and gradually working your way up. Yeah, when you make the jumps that fast, sometimes it could, be a lot, but no doubt in my mind that Marky could be playing pro right now.
Absolutely. But him wanting to do it, what I would arguably say is the much harder way of earning your spot in pro, coming up from semi-pro, definitely the harder way. But
yep.
A lot of respect for that, because he wants to play with his boys. He believes that his boys are capable of earning that pro spot. Definitely. The top of the semi-pro bracket this year is extremely competitive. Most years it's usually like a 2-team race, but this year you've got 4 teams that all, I'd even venture to say 5 or 6 teams, because you can't sleep on teams like the Killers. You can't sleep on Distortion making their way back in either. So you've got 4 to 6 teams at the top of the semi-pro bracket right now that are definitely within striking distance.
Absolutely. It's really close. It's really competitive. And we don't take any of those teams lightly. They could all turn up and have a tournament and take first place. Any one of them.
Yep. It'll be exciting to watch the Chicago event here in 2 weeks.
I'm excited. This is the one. Like, we took, and even though we were in a different division last year with D2, but we won first place in Chicago last year. And I was telling the guys, like, we're going to take that momentum forward. Even though some of the other teams were doing different things. This is us. Like, we're on this turf. We won first place, and let's take that momentum forward. Let's try and be competitive. Let's take home the W. We're ready.
Absolutely. So the NXL layout just dropped a couple hours ago. Let me get your initial thoughts on it.
I like it. I'm happy with it. There's not some like weird gaps or I feel like you could attack. There's just lots of options. Basically, just initial thoughts. I have not been out there and checked the shots or anything like that, but you can attack from the Dorito side. You can attack the snake. And there's some big bunkers up in the middle, and I like doing that. So I feel like it fits our team, and I feel like we're going to get down the field and we're going to put some real pressure on some teams on this event for sure. So I'm excited. I like the layout. I'm excited to get out there, and I wasn't able to get out there today just because I'm on kid duty, but I was out in the garage. I just did a 2-hour workout in the garage today, and I was out running with my dog last night and outrunning my husky. So the motivation's there. We're hungry, and I cannot wait to get out there.
I can tell we're going to be rooting for you. So we've got one question in the chat right now. This is from the real Slim Katie. This is my wife, Katie. She says, question for British. You have some funny horror stories about what you've put your body through on and off the field. So what advice would you give to someone in a lower division trying to harness that same passion to play?
About getting beat up on the field? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, take care of your body. There's a lot of things you could do, like even off the field, to take care of your body. And if you're showing up and feeling like crap, and muscles aren't firing right, then it just doesn't work. So I don't know if everybody knows this, but I'm actually a sports therapist for my profession too, and I analyze movement, and I work for a chiropractor, and I've worked for rugby teams, and I've worked for soccer teams, and I rehab injuries, and it's ironic because I've gone through some back pain. I've torn my shoulder. I've torn my labrum in my shoulder, and it's advice, just figure out a way to keep playing. Paintball's great because you're able to play different positions, and you don't always have to be the guy diving into the snake all the time. That used to be me back in the day, and from that video we sent you earlier on today, that was me. That's how I started out, playing in this, diving in the snake. But you get injured, and you start just doing different things. But like, you don't go up the middle or go up the Dorito side, or just sit in the back and hold the lane if your back's hurting. I mean, shoot. I'm just so competitive that I'm going to be out there either way. Some of those USXBLs that we won first place, I was having severe sciatic lower back pain, shooting down the leg, shooting across my back. But adrenaline's a real thing, so I was able to push through some of that, and that's how much passion I have for this stuff, and that's how much competitiveness I have for the game. That gets me through it. But there's so many things that you can do outside of the field just to take care of your body, and so you should do it. Just put in the work and take care of yourself. You only get one body, so don't overdo it, but just learn about your body and keep it moving and keep it functional. That's what I would say.
Appreciate it. I've actually gone through some injuries this year. I've had herniated disc in my back. I've been dealing with for half of the year. Missed a couple of events. I had a bad bike accident back in June. But British has actually given me some advice for my back, at least, and it's helped me a lot. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Last question here on the show. This is a question I ask everybody that comes on. So are there any other Texas-based teams, players, brands, fields, or projects that have caught your attention? So give me one person or one brand, one player, one team that if the rest of Texas doesn't know about them, then they need to.
Not really. Honestly, I keep myself to myself on a lot of these things. I know Outlaw Paintball is growing a lot, and that's the place to be right now. I mean, a lot of the teams, we go up to FIT, we go down to San Antonio, X Factor a lot too. Different brands, not really. I'm always the guy, I'm not the one back in the pits fiddling with his gun all the time. Like, I don't really know much about a lot of the brands. And shout out to Lux Paintball, obviously our sponsors here too. But no, not really.
We'll just go with Outlaw for that one. Shout out to Tom and Deborah.
Shout out to Outlaw Paintball, yeah, Tom Paintball, Lux Paintball, Virtue, Alamo Ammo. All those guys are great, and yeah, really appreciate their help.
Yeah, shout out to all of Austin Notorious sponsors. I think you have Alamo Ammo, Alamo Tickets, of course GI Sports.
All those guys.
Perfect. So British, thank you for your time. Do you have any last shout outs? I mean, I know you just shouted out all your sponsors. Do you have any other last shout outs or things you'd like to say before we sign off?
Yeah, I would like to say Brandon White obviously is one of our main snake guys. He's unfortunately his mom just had a stroke, and she's going through a lot right now, and he's not going to be able to make the event. So just want to put our prayers out there for her, and I hope she gets through it. And I hope that he spends some quality time with his family. And I know nothing's family is way more important than paintball. But we're all coming together. It's weird deja vu because of Diego from last year, but there's I just hope that she gets through it. And so we're gonna miss Brandon White for this next event, but yeah, prayers are with him.
Yeah. Prayers for Brandon White and for his mom. Also, just remembering Diego last year in his tragic accident. Y'all are taking care of your own boys. You play for them every day. So we're gonna be rooting for you up in Chicago. Brandon White, all the hopes and prayers for you. Wish you the best. All right. So thank you, British, for your time. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to go follow Austin Notorious. That's at Austin Notorious on Instagram. What other guests would you like to see on the show? Be sure to leave a comment down below. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button here on Twitch. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. The show goes live weekly here on twitch.tv/inthepitspaintballpodcast. Recordings are posted to YouTube, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify on the next day. So shout out to all my partners and sponsors. We have FU Athletics, Get That Shot, got new merch as well. So go check out his store. I think he's actually about to release some playing stuff like pod packs and stuff. So go check out his merchandise. Shout out to Colt Roberts and his training program, Paintball Kumite. And shout out to Jel Stewart and his brand Compete. So next week, we will see you guys for episode 11. We will have Haley Leva. She is she's a player for the Destiny Pro team, also of AC Kids fame. So we will see you all next week. British, thank you so much for your time.
We'll see you in Chicago. Appreciate it, man.